Another chapter in the Mark Williams. No, I'm playing. I promise. We're not going to do that to you anymore.
God.
I promise you. No more Mark stuff. We're going to do the All-Star break check-in. We're going to give out awards. We're going to see the progress or lack of progress the Hornets are on right now as we get to the All-Star break. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
I had you going for a little bit. I know I did. See, you probably shouldn't do that in the cold open that is supposed to draw more people in, though. Like, right. So I don't want to scare you guys off. It's Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can text him there too. You can also listen to him Locked On NBA with Hayes and Matt Moore. I'm Walker Mayo. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. And last thing, want to tell you about the new newsletter. As always, it is still new, the Locked On Hornets newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now. LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. Let's hand out some awards. Let's create some awards. Let's manufacture them and then give them out so we actually have some awards to give out to the first half, quote unquote, of the Hornets season. We'll do that in just a couple of segments. One thing we need to do before we start handing out these awards, though, is talk about a new player and talk about a new impact player, possibly, especially if Mark Williams doesn't come back. We recapped that Magic game yesterday with Nada, Doug. One thing we didn't get to that probably deserves its own storyline is Nurkic, because he is a somewhat three-point shooting big. He can stretch the floor. He's a new guy that's going to be making a lot of money on this roster as long as he's on it. What did you think of Big Nurk in the paint against the Orlando Magic?
I thought he brought a physicality, a toughness, an attitude that has been missing from the Hornets interior all season long. I wrote in every Hornets box score that it was an absolute revelation. I mean, from tip-off, he didn't come in looking to jack up threes. We know he has the ability to shoot. He's not necessarily like a knockdown shooter from outside, but he does take threes. But he didn't have an over-reliance on them to open this game. Instead, he was rolling to the basket, and he wanted that basketball, and he made sure the guards knew it. And once he got there, we saw the little Bosnian flip. I mean, he had a little nifty, couple of nifty layups there. But he was also, what I loved is that he was looking to put a shoulder into Wendell Carter's chest, into Goga Bataze's chest. He was going to make them hit the ice bath after the game. And I just thought it was great. And I haven't seen that much really all season long. So it was awesome.
9 and 8 in 16 minutes of play. They're going to ramp up his minutes, but he was on a minutes restriction reportedly coming into the game. So that's why he only played 16. And then eventually they would lose to Orlando as the Magic would separate down the line here. I do have to wonder how much of this is just the one game stuff and if it's going to continue. But still, Nurkic that's the type of player that he is. It's how he has to survive, honestly. There's not the athleticism that Nurk can roll with. And so he has to play physical or else he's just not going to be a productive player in the NBA. So it's one of those things, you go after a player and he's going to be physical because there's nothing else to his game, right? Like I'm going to pick and pop. If I'm out in the 3-point line, I'll dot you, but really, if you give me the ball on the post, there's no jumping over you. There's no sidestepping you. There's no Euro step. There's no taking it off the dribble from the free throw line. It's put my shoulder into your chest and create some space that way and then just have enough touch to finish inside. So Nurkic with, again, the 8 rebounds in the 16 minutes as well. That's good. So you're right. Just having that type of player, who knows what happens if Mark Williams comes back? Who knows how the center rotation is going to look with Mark, Nurk, and Musa. Again, all of this contingent on if Mark actually returns to the team. But Nurk has a role. There's no doubt about that. And I think he's going to fill it while at least stretching the floor out. You give other teams different looks, Doug. At least with Mark coming in, he's the lob threat. He'll help LaMelo get more dimes, I think, certainly in the paint. But maybe the catch and shoot opportunities are there for Nurk too. So just giving defenses different looks offensively. Yeah, man, we have a player like that now.
Well, and he's not afraid to talk, both to the other team and to his own teammates. I mean, first game action for Nurkic, and he's already talking to his teammates, particularly the rookie, Tijan Salan, who he was fighting with for a rebound. I don't know why they were fighting each other, and that's what confused Nurkic as well. And he had to talk with the rookie like, hey, you got to communicate. You got to say, hey, I'm going to get that, or if I say it, you got to back off. So I love that, man. I love the veteran savvy. I love the physicality. I love the attitude. And I'm aware, and you mentioned this, you hinted this in the last episode, I'm aware that if the Hornets were in a position where they were trying to play serious basketball and win, postseason games, that Nurkic is probably going to do some things that make you go, oh, man, okay. I mean, he's done that at previous stops. Like, there's a reason why he fell out of the rotation in Phoenix. There's a reason why Phoenix decided to trade him, why Portland moved on, why Denver moved on. Like, I understand the realities. So really what I'm talking about when I say revelation is not revelation relative to all the centers in the NBA. It's relative to where the center position for the Charlotte Hornets has been of late. He's bringing some things that they haven't had, and I think would be positive things if there were enough talent on the roster.
Yeah, and again, last thing for me on Nurk is he was actually pretty good for Phoenix last year. I know there was some, it was kind of hit or miss when Phoenix brought him in to play with all the stars, but he played better, I think, than most people expected, or at least was like right above status quo for the people that were in favor of bringing Nurkic in. And then it was this year that he fell out of favor in the rotation more so. But also, you're talking about a team that's not playing very well despite all the star power they have in Phoenix right now, too.
Yeah, he wants a role offensively, and if he doesn't get it, then he gets upset. And he got 8 rebounds in this game. I would say over the course of his career, rebounding, like consistently rebounding. The reason the Hornets wanted, or the Suns wanted Nick Richards from the Hornets was not for his scoring prowess. They needed a guy that was going to be physical in terms of wanting to go get every single rebound. And that is Nick Richards, particularly on the offensive boards, less so on the defensive boards. So Nurkic, that's going to come and go. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, if this were a scenario where like the Hornets had a ton of talent and they were looking to make the playoffs and do some things in the playoffs, would I be this over the moon about the Hornets acquiring Nurkic? Maybe not. But relative to what they've been dealing with, I think, particularly if they're going to play this injured and this badly for the rest of the season, I think Nurkic is at least going to bring an entertaining factor to this team moving forward.
Okay, let's give out some awards. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We have some made-up awards, and we got the good old-fashioned awards. The MVP, the Sixth Man of the Year. We're going to hand some of those out in the next segment of Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. I'm a Dash Pass member. I'm excited about this deal. Game day feasts are some of the features mentioned in DoorDash and also given to you with the Dash Pass. After an epic 50-point performance, you can celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. For the late night cravings people, whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Plus, if you just need some lunch on the go, if you need a quick and easy lunch the next day with Dash Pass, Pass, you get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, just to save myself from any problems here, that Dash Pass deal reminds me of a certain business offering 50% off of their item of choice when the Hornets would score 90 or more. And let me tell you, okay, I don't know if that rings a bell in your head, but I will tell you, when I was in college, I lived off that deal. Because even with the Hornets / Bobcats, they were still scoring 90 points regularly. It still wasn't very hard to get to 90 points in an NBA game in the early 2010s. And anytime they scored 90, 50%, I guarantee you I was ordering that item. Like it was happening. It helped me out. And if they didn't, right? Or God forbid, they win a couple of games without scoring 90. Yeah, my wallet was hurting just a little bit. This reminds me of that. People go for 50 all the time. Get a Dash Pass. What are you doing?
Yeah, I remember it because when the Hornets actually put a NBA level offense on the floor, I remember them raising the level that the Hornets needed.
It went
to
95, I think. I don't think you're wrong. I think they raised it to like 5 points.
So to me, it was always the pizza barometer of like, the Hornets actually might have an offense this year because the pizza people are getting worried.
That's right. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. Anytime they scored, I was like, it's pizza again for me. Okay, let's give out some awards. Let's start with MVP. The MVP of the Charlotte Hornets as we get to the All-Star break. You know, we could do the whole cliche joke, it's hard to give out an MVP, all this stuff. It is hard, I'll be honest. But
oh, wow. Okay.
It's not. But I wish I was giving this award out in a different way. So I'll go ahead and get it started because LaMelo is the guy that deserves the MVP award. I guess you could give it to Miles Bridges based off of just playing with heart out there on the court. We've talked about his effort, like defensively. He earned Defensive Player of the Month for this team. So Miles is another name that I think you could consider. But if we're just going with who makes this team so much better when they're out on the court compared to when they're not, who is someone that gave you all-star numbers, the guy that we've been, clamoring for to be in the all-star game, despite NBA media, national NBA media disrespecting him and just an overwhelming dismissal of his play. LaMelo is the MVP. It's frustrating because you wish you could give it to him because he's played all these games and he's going to the all-star game and all this stuff. But we all know he's still the best player on this team. It's really easy to see. So he's the most valuable player.
Yeah, I mean, I get your throwing an argument there for Miles Bridges because he has played a lot of minutes. But, it's strange. He's only played 5 more games than LaMelo Ball has. Now, LaMelo Ball has
it is weird.
Exited a few of those games early. But I think, minutes-wise, though, he's played nearly 200 more minutes than LaMelo Ball this year. Yeah. But if honestly, I would consider giving it to Miles if he had shot the basketball better. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, his points per shot attempt are still lower than LaMelo Ball's, and 27th percentile among forwards. LaMelo Ball, 37th percentile in points per shot attempt because his shot hasn't been going in, at least his three-point shot hasn't been going in at the rate that it has been in previous seasons. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I would consider giving it to Miles if that were the case, but it's not. And LaMelo Ball has been the highest usage player in the entire association this year and was scoring at a crazy rate when he was healthy and in the groove. So, yeah, I think it's still LaMelo Ball.
We went through some of the numbers during, our pitch to get him to the All-Star game somehow, some way. I mean, the Hornets, at least at the time of us discussing that a little more, the Hornets had 11 more wins with him on the court than they did without him. They just picked up another one against San Antonio with LaMelo out there on the court compared to when he doesn't play. They still might only have one victory without LaMelo playing in a game. It's pretty ridiculous. And we know the offense just looks so different with him out there. He's a force multiplier. Like, everybody is helped because of him. Mark Williams is helped quite a bit. Miles Bridges gets open corner threes because all the attention on LaMelo in late game situations. Yeah, LaMelo, he's the guy. He's still the driving force.
Yeah, so according to Clean the Glass, the Hornets are plus 8 points per 100 possessions better when he's on the floor. They're nearly plus 12 on offense, and then it's about a -3 on defense. And so 8 points better as a team when LaMelo is on the floor. I'll look up Miles, but I don't think it's going to be quite.
No.
That.
There's no way. I would be shocked if it was anywhere close. I'm honestly interested.
It's still good. It's plus 5.7. So
okay.
they're plus 3 when he offensively, and they're plus 2.5 defensively when he's on the floor, which I think makes sense too.
Yeah.
Like he contributes on the defensive end of the floor for sure.
It does. Yeah, I'd honestly be interested in where the plus 8 points on the floor per 100 possessions ranks in the NBA among the other stars. Like, Jokic's numbers are always just stupid when you look at that one for Denver. But yeah, I'd be interested in the percentile there. You want to move on to sixth man of the year?
Let's do it.
Okay. I was hoping to give this to sixth Trey Mann of the year. I was hoping that was going to happen, but he just simply hasn't played enough games. If we were doing a 13-game sample, it'd be Trey Mann, Doug. Second place might be Grant Williams. In a perfect world where no one gets injured, those were supposed to be your seventh and eighth guy, or your sixth and seventh guys off of the bench, but they've just been too injured. I honestly didn't really have any problem with this one. Musa Diabaté is the sixth man of the year for me. What do you want? This guy just comes in and rebounds everything possible. He can hang on the perimeter as a big guy. He's incredibly self-aware, even if the basketball decision-making isn't phenomenal. Like, you can offset that by just telling him, as soon as you grab the basketball, kick it out to the three-point line, which he does a good job of. And if he doesn't find his first open option, things might get a little dicey. But even still, grab the basketball, throw it to the three-point line. He's got some off-the-dribble stuff, Doug. Like, that's kind of fun. You give him the basketball at the free throw line. You give him one dribble, he's not going to turn it over, and he can slam it in your face. Yeah. What more can you say? Musa's the best. We love him. There's a reason he's a multi-year guy coming off of a 2-year contract or two-way contract. Now he's a multi-year contract guy. Musa's the sixth man of the year.
Yeah, not a traditional sixth man mold, but this is not a traditional year for the Charlotte Hornets. No. Musa's not a guy who's going to come in and immediately impact the game on the offensive end of the floor. He's not going to pour on the points, but what he will do, and what he has done in multiple games, is turn the vibes around. He is a vibes sixth man. He will turn the energy around for the Charlotte Hornets. That's where his impact is most felt. I totally 100% agree with you. Musa Diabaté, sixth man of the year so far for the Charlotte Hornets, and has started quite a few games as well. So I have an update on this plus-minus thing. I haven't found... I'll have to see if I can filter this on Cleaning the Glass for starters or guys with big minutes, but you're right about Jokic. He is nearly a plus 24.
It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. My brain melts. I don't know what to do with that number.
Would you like to know who the Charlotte Hornets leader is with 148 minutes on the floor? It is, would you like to take a guess? Only 148 minutes.
Yeah. Is it Grant?
No, it's Josh Okogie, who has an incredible plus 27 differential points per 100 possessions, meaning how many points better is your team in a game where you have 100 possessions, which is not really average, but a little bit above average. But plus 27 for Josh Okogie, that's incredible. But again, only 148 minutes. If I'm looking at the guys, you've got Jokic, Fox with San Antonio right now, only 178 minutes, but he's been incredible. Chris Paul, Pascal Siakam, these are plus 15, plus 14. If I go down to the plus 8 guys, it'd be a ways, but you're for LaMelo Ball, he's in the territory. I'll give you some guys he's in the territory with. Colin Sexton for Utah, James Harden for the Clippers. Giannis is a plus 8 for Milwaukee. Michael Porter is a plus 8 for Denver. Those are some of the names that he lives in. He's better than Trae Young, by the way, who is replacing Giannis in the All-Star game instead of LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, by the way, the Grant Williams guessed the minutes way too low on that. I wasn't mathing very well. But I think your co-host on Locked On NBA talks about this, Doug. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Matt Moore likes using the on-off numbers to enhance a player's resume or profile for an all-star appearance, for an all-NBA appearance nearly as much. I think that's when you get into the details and the minutia of all of it. If I'm not, maybe, again, kick that around. I'll help produce your show. But if I think he's got some stuff like that, because obviously when you're on the floor with the teammates around you, you can only be helped so much with the talent around you, right? So in an injured season still, LaMelo is still playing with some of the guys that aren't going to be as talented as what Pascal Siakam has in Indiana, whatever, right? Some of these other players. Well, but even still, LaMelo's helped.
Right. For example, Kevin Durant is only a +5.
Right.
But obviously he has a tremendous impact when he's on the floor. It's just that Phoenix starting lineup that he's been most playing with has been absolutely miserable. And that's not all on Kevin Durant. But I think we can fairly use it to determine a player's impact, particularly on a bad team.
That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's the measure, right? I was trying to, at what point, how should we use this? That's a question for somebody that knows this a little bit better than I do. But, what's the extent in which we use on-off numbers to elevate a player's profile or bring down a player's profile?
Well, I think you can use it if you'd like to defend yourself by hyping a certain player, a certain rookie over another one. For example, Scoot Henderson right now +3.6 when he's on the floor for Portland. That would put him in the 70th percentile. If you needed to do that, you could do that.
A second-year player, not a rookie, but a second-year player.
What I was saying was defending, hyping a certain rookie in his second year now.
But that's where it is okay. 100% go. All fair.
Yeah, exactly.
You're safe on that one. Okay, let's move on. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
LaMelo Ball, Musa Diabaté, congratulations. You have won a couple of Locked On Hornets awards. We'll give out a few more in the last segment of LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team or I'm backing them for a late game rally, picking a player to hit a clutch three, and never really feel like I'm missing my chance with FanDuel. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, I'll let you give this award out first. Charles Lee pretty much giving this award out, so we just ripped it from him. Well, not this one. I'm sorry. That's Hornets DNA. Stay tuned. We'll actually go with Sicko Hope next. Who is the guy that has given Sickos the most hope this season? In a season that hasn't gone quite as planned, with injuries again, who can the Sickos rely on for hope as they approach next season?
A couple of ways you could interpret this. You could do it that way, or you could do just the guy this season who everyone went, like, oh my gosh, is this going to be a thing? Can we possibly? And I think that if you interpret it that way, which is how I'm going to interpret it, then I have to give this award to Trey Mann, who we were doing Allen Iverson comparisons to, both dress and game. We were doing that early in the season. And of course, the hope is what kills you. And unfortunately, Trey Mann having to carry all of that on his back may have actually injured his back. He was carrying the weight of all of that Hornets misery and fan misery. And so disc irritation, he's been out for a while. I don't have much hope that he's going to really play again this season. But hopefully they can get him healthy and he can get back to normal next season, because when he had it going, Walker, it was a joy to watch. He was able to really get to his spot anywhere on the floor. And he was an absolute offensive beast, but also he contributed well on the defensive end of the floor too. I love Trey Mann, and he was my Sicko Hoper of the year.
Totally, a Sicko Hoper Hooper is what Trey Mann was. Totally agree with you, offense and defense. So I interpreted this in a way such as, okay, I am so sick that I will hold on to this guy's chances to become the guy for dear life. It is going to alter my decision making. That's how sick I am, right? Where Trey Mann, that will alter your decision making, maybe in terms of if you bring him back or not. But I'm talking about making big time franchise decisions based off of my hope for this guy. And LaMelo Ball, congratulations, you win another award. Wow. This is my Sicko Hope Award, because we talked about it earlier. What do you do with LaMelo now that he has 10 ankle injuries on his resume? If you get the first or second overall pick, is it just as easy as playing LaMelo alongside the rookie, or are you going to trade him? And I'm telling you, I'm not trading LaMelo. I'm also sick to the point of I believe that he's getting healthier. He's not missed as many games as he has the last couple of seasons. He's on pace to play more than he has the last couple of seasons, but that's a really low bar. And he's still not going to pass the 65-game threshold that would be eligible, that would make him eligible to win some of the awards. Good news for him, Locked On Hornets doesn't have a 65-game threshold. You can win the Sicko Hope Award without having played 60. Hell, you only got to play 13. Trey Mann just got the award. But LaMelo, for me, I'm still holding on to hope that he's only leaving these games and being pronounced out immediately because the Hornets are incentivized to lose. So they're not going to bring in clearly their best player. And once, this is so sick, once we get to the next year and Brandon is healthy and they have the first pick and they pair everybody with LaMelo, who just makes everyone better, that he gets my Sicko Hope Award, Doug, because, again, I'm so far gone. I can't help it. So LaMelo and Trey Mann, congratulations. Okay, next one, Hornets DNA. Hornets DNA, move over 4 pillars. Welcome competitive joy, but even more so, welcome Hornets DNA. This is the Hornets DNA Award, Doug. I'll let you go first again. Who are you giving it out to?
Well, I mean, it's hard not to give it to Seth Curry, because he actually has the Hornets DNA inside of his body. Mr. Hornet, Del Curry. He's got that flowing through his genes. But I'm not going to give it to Seth Curry. I'm going to give it to another player who's about to win 2 awards here, and that's Musa Diabaté. He has represented everything it has meant, everything that you've heard from Charles Lee, whether it's competitive joy, every possession matters, getting better every day. That's just been Musa Diabaté in spades. Just no question.
I'm going to give it to the guy I think Charles Lee would give it to, Doug. I'm going to give it to Miles Bridges.
Okay, that's fair.
Miles has, even with the injury, Miles has still been someone that you can depend on the most. No, he's not been shooting it crazy well from this year. Remember, Miles has been a guy that we've actually criticized his defense before. I mean, he was a classic example of falling asleep at the wheel, getting beat backdoor, just allowing his guys to cut. He'd be a liability sometimes, certainly in team defense, and he had trouble staying in front of his guys as well. I just don't think you've seen those kinds of problems this year. Charles Lee, again, I'll reference it once more. Miles got the Defensive Player of the Month award. I can't help but think of the guy that bucks up to the other players, the guy that dives for the loose basketballs.
Buck with a B.
Yeah, with a B, bucks up to the other players. Kevin Durant, I've referenced that quite a bit. On the court, they continue to look at him like that. Steve Clifford would talk about Miles that way. Charles Lee, no different. I think Hornets DNA for a prolonged period of time. Miles gets it. I wrote down Moose's name first and then erased it. Shout out to Okogie, who I think deserves honorable mention for his 148 minutes of play with the Hornets. I think Okogie embodies Hornets DNA, but just hadn't played enough.
Well, just real quick, Hornets are 16th in defense according to Clean the Glass. That's incredible when you consider that they are 28th in offense. Typically, when you're terrible at offense, you have a difficult time defending because you're missing all the time. And the way the game is played these days, when you miss, teams are getting into transition immediately. So if you miss a lot, that means you're running a lot. That means the other team is going to get an advantage on you. And the fact that they've been 16th in defense is a testament to what Charles Lee has been able to install. I think it's a testament to Musa, but also you got to give it to Miles. He's gotten more responsibility on the defensive end this year.
Yeah.
They did give him Josh Green to help and Cody Martin to take some of those like faster wing defenders, but Bridges has been good, really good.
Okay, plays of the year before we get to some coaches' corner.
Plays of the year. There's some candidates here. I would throw LaMelo, that crazy three that he had falling down, knocked down that he had near the logo, deep three. The OT three that LaMelo had in the corner to force overtime against Philadelphia earlier in the season. They didn't win that game in overtime, but it was one of the few. I almost want to give that one the award because it's one of the few out-of-bounds plays that have worked for the Hornets in years. You had the drunken karate three that didn't make any sense that LaMelo hit against Goga Batadze in Orlando. A lot of LaMelo plays I just mentioned. I'm not going to give it to LaMelo, though. I'm going to give play of the year to a dunk that I saw from Brandon Miller. Very first game of the season. I don't think we were through the first half of the first quarter. There was a dunk. Maybe I'll try to find a link to it and put it in the show notes. Brandon Miller rose up for a dunk that gave me all of the hope in the world that we were about to see a special season from Brandon Miller. Didn't pan out for a number of reasons.
He got hurt 2 minutes later, Doug. I remember he gets hurt in that game. In that game before we can even get to the second half.
Mamma mia.
He gets hurt. Yeah, crazy.
But him rising up for that dunk, it made Şengün. Here's what Şengün did. He went like this. What happens when you drop a glass? That moment that the glass is still hovering in the air and you're like waiting for the impact to happen. You know the sound is about to hit. That's what Şengün was like, ah! Oh, my God. It was beautiful.
Yeah, he was Tay Leone on the beach with her dad before the meteor hit. That's what he was. It was deep impact. Brandon Miller about to throw a meteor down on you. It was. And then the wave washes you out.
That's the saddest moment that you could pick to pair with a beautiful dunk. It's like one of the saddest moments in movie history.
It was sad for him. It was sad for Şengün. All great plays of the year. Doug, so I'm going to go to one recent. Maybe it's recency bias. I don't care. I'm going to go with the dime to Miles Bridges in the corner. What a fun game the Hornets played. The reason I go with this one, too, is because of what it represents for Hornets hope, and maybe there's a little sickness involved in this, too. This was amidst all the hullabaloo that is the Mark Williams situation. We are getting hullabaloo. I think
you dropped a couple of great words on this. I'm going to give Wordsmith of the Year to Walker Mill. You've dropped a couple of nice words on this show.
All the hullabaloo, this was amidst all of it, Doug, with the Mark Williams situation, the back and forth. Who are we going to play at center? Okay, now, cool, we're moving on from Mark. Can Musa be the guy? Yes. Can he dunk on Wemby? Absolutely. Just like backup Hornet centers of yesteryear, Kai Jones reference. So LaMelo drawing all of this attention in as he drives into the paint. That pass to Miles is ridiculous, who has struggled hitting the three consistently all year long, but knocks down a corner three against a good San Antonio team where De'Aaron Fox is there. San Antonio almost has this, fresh breath of new life with their point guard that has finally been paired with Wemby. And the other thing is how loud Spectrum Center was. It gave, I think that hit a lot of people in the feels on Twitter because it just goes to show you if you give Hornets fans something to cheer for, they will show up. I've said that a million times. I think San Antonio was representative of that. Doug, when this team was just barely above 500, all they were 4 games above 500. And LaMelo was such a fun player, all-star appearance that year. Spectrum Center was pretty packed. People wanted to go to Hornets games. Against San Antonio, sure, they wanted to see Wemby. But who were they pulling for when the Hornets were doing something good? They were pulling for the Charlotte Hornets. So, or Hornets fans they were pulling for the Hornets. So I think all of that, everything that it represents, give me the corner three from Miles with the kick out from LaMelo.
So we actually have some shows coming up without games to cover next week. The Hornets and the Lakers will make up the game that they missed due to the California wildfires on February 19th. So they'll get back into action before anyone else will. I don't even think that's a national TV game. That's amazing to me. It's only going to be one game on February. You can check me on this, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to put the Lakers on national TV. That's how bad the Hornets are down. When the NBA only has one game to play, it's Lakers, it's Hornets, and they're not going to put the Lakers on national TV. Maybe they change that between now and then.
Yeah, who knows?
My point being, that before we get into Charles Lee and the coaching thing, let's save that for the week because I have some interesting thoughts. I don't want to rush them. Plus, I'm just looking at the plus-minus numbers for all of these players. We can do there's some more fun plus-minus numbers that we can do next week too.
Got a little bit of a break. All-star break for us as well in terms of game recaps. I was joking with Doug. I don't know if this makes me look bad as a podcast host. I'm not a wordsmith. But
all right, taking the word away.
Yeah,
goodbye.
Thank you. I deserve that. But I was joking with Doug about this. Everything that we've done for the last week and a half has all been narrative based, and I did not need to look up stats. So I just typed in basketball reference, cleaning the glass. I was looking at some of these stats to give out the awards. It was the first time that I had gone to these websites on this computer in like 2 weeks worth of time, or at least looked up Hornets stats on those websites because it's all narrative stuff. It's all Mark Williams stuff, injury, mock trial. Rescissions. There's another word for you. Yeah, crazy.
Sometimes you need the eye test to confirm what the numbers are showing you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need the numbers to confirm or to counter something that your eyes may be deceiving you on. The Hornets this season have been very obvious. The problems that they have, the successes that they've had, the impact that LaMelo's had, the impact in the negative sense that other players have been pretty obvious, and we haven't really needed to look at the numbers. But we'll have some time so we can get nerdy next week.
That's a conversation within itself. I feel like we've been able to detail Mark's impact games to a T, where the advanced metrics, they bring that up, where he was awesome. They told you he was awesome when he wasn't. They told you, ooh, this is really bad. LaMelo, by far the best player on the team. Yep, stats back that up. Like, it's not only obvious, it's detailed, it's painfully obvious in every little nook and cranny you go explore.
I'll give a treat to those who have stuck around for the full show. I'll go ahead and tease it, but I'm going to bring this up again when we look at plus-minus next week. Mark Williams, 18th percentile among bigs, minus 7.2. Points per 100 possession, minus 1.8 on offense. This is the amazing part, though. Minus 5.4 for the Hornets. I mean, it shows up as plus 5.4 on cleaning the glass, but that means that teams were scoring 5 more points on the Hornets per 100 possessions when he was on the floor.
Yeah, he was giving up 40 burgers constantly. That sucks. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. That was fun. Giving out some awards to players that earned it. There's Doug Branson still talking about the NBA on Locked On NBA, still talking about the Hornets on everyhornetsboxscore.com. There you can also text him. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday talking some all-star stuff.